To everyone joining us on the live stream, thank you so much for your patience. Welcome to Karachi time. Everything runs about 20 minutes late, if you're lucky. Otherwise, it can be, longer. Today, we're going to kick off our LinkedIn local event with a guest speaker who's actually the extra mile, literally. The commute from his day job is about a 2-hour flight. So Lawrence Wilson is actually flown from Dubai just to talk to us about data and analytics and some of the interesting developments that are taking place in the world of data and analytics. So I'm going to leave it to Lawrence to introduce himself. But please welcome Lawrence Wilson to Karachi. Is it working?
Okay, thank you for everyone for coming. Welcome to Karachi. It's my first time here, and so far the experience has been very fun, and I hope that continues. So I work for a company called CRIF. So if I bring up the map of where we exist, it gives a good understanding of who we are and our reach. So we are primarily a data-driven company. We have credit bureaus, we have credit services, credit risk management, banking solutions. We are celebrating this year our 30-year anniversary. So we established in 1988 in Bologna in Italy, and it's been a real success. So we started with credit bureau services to Italian national, for them to avail credit with new banking services back in 1988, and then it established to trade finance, business information in Italy, until I think it was around 2005-2006 when CRIF first looked at international markets. So the European market at that time, which was strongest in Italy, was currently saturated, and they looked at how they could offer services and information outside of Italy and to other markets. And with it, many challenges, many opportunities, but many challenges. So they started to move out across Europe, and as you can see on the map, I think we first went to the US, acquired some companies there, did some things similar there with data and analytics. Where it got interesting was when we came to the Middle East market. So the Middle East market has some very specific idiosyncrasies, which are unlike anywhere else in the world, and it's amazing. Some make for more agile, some make for more and restrictive restrictions, but in general terms, it's an exciting to be in. We have some really good success. So we established the Al Ittihad Credit Bureau in the UAE, which is a federal credit bureau, at the same time as the Thailand Credit Bureau. So around 2012, 2013. Within 1-2 years, the Credit Bureau was fully established, fully shared from all the subscribers, and was a very established Credit Bureau. Thailand, even now, still is slightly behind. There's challenges with getting subscribers on, with understanding usage. So what that tells me is although we see the Middle East as an emerging market, it's actually it's a banking market, which is actually new services. So it may be emerging, but it has a good experience and a good platform to start from. So it's not true emerging markets. We now look at different areas, and we will go into Levant, to Lebanon, and looking at those markets, and also to Pakistan. So one of the main reasons looking at Pakistan is geographically very close to the East. There's very similarities with banking opportunities have evolved, a good population that's digital aware, which fits in well with product sets. Some similarities, maybe it's not with Egypt. So we're already working in Egypt, similar population size, similar demographics in terms of age-wise for people coming up into the bankability from an age perspective, coming directly online to banks through digital acquisition and mobile phone usage. So we see similarities with markets that we've already established in Egypt. I just want to touch on the point so that you can read some of the services and solutions that we offer. Touch on the point that everything that I've spoken about is focused primarily on consumer banking, consumer credit, consumer debt, and lending and solutions and services. But we also have very strong SME, business, commercial credit lines, commercial acquisition, which is again has another spectrum of challenge. So where you're assessing individual, there are sometimes problems with assessing that individual. You can always get hold of that individual, and you can always try and make this lesson, right? When it comes to commercial entities and commercial lending, commercial banking, then it can be a new establishment. Then you're looking at subjective lines. You're looking at data points which bear no relevance to what you think would exist in banking. This is important for B2C, but it's also trade finance. So where it's going B2B. So where I want to avail some credit to a customer of mine in the maybe for 30 days, maybe for 60 days. So we've got some continuing there in this market, especially in UAE and Saudi, where for the SME segments it seems important for the growth of those countries. They represent, in Saudi there's some statistics that suggest that it's 90% of business registered in the kingdom are SMEs, which the contribution to the GDP might not be similar to 90%, but is a significant contribution. Okay, we look at our primary remit in terms of what we do. Probably a lot of that I've already covered. It's where we see challenges that we help customers overcome in their credit. I can't remember what I've written on the slides, but it's in new credit origination. So new credit is how you understand that customer, or commercial entity, how you understand who they are, and ultimately their willingness to pay back the credit. So there's one thing identifying them, but then you have to try and plan and predict what sorts of life they're going to take through your bank or through your customer, but then to ultimately set up the and during that, you want to retain them. So in the UAE, it's an aggressive market in terms of credit lending to consumers. It's a constant top-up market, so people are jumping from bank to bank. You've got to assess them, you've got to identify the risks, but then you've got to retain them, you've got to keep the customers in. So new credit origination. So this is obviously includes retention. Also includes how you monitor, how you understand the evolution of that customer as they're onboarded with you. So as they're paying money, banking with you, as they're availing some service that you have offered to them, is there an opportunity to cross-sell, to upsell? Is there an opportunity to understand, some specific needs? Is there some ability to look forward, to move them from location? Maybe they're always banking in a certain area but living in another area. Can you the customer as much as you can? And that all comes from data that you acquire whilst you're and then collections. Collections is I spent 5 years of my life in collections, and it's a very interesting topic and has huge similarities globally in terms of ultimately you want to put in the debt that you have acquired hasn't paid. I see collections specifically in this region being more about customer retention. So it's you collect that money, but you don't want to lose that customer. So they may have dropped, they may be 30 days overdue, but I don't think that means that they're not okay. So where we see maybe established markets in Europe, in the US, when somebody falls into collections, they in collections. So they might be paying back and they might bring something back in, but the next month they drop, and then the next month they drop, and it's only going to be a consolidation loan provider that usually fulfills their needs. Maybe because the values are less, the credit is a new contract. I think collection should be less expensive, because once you get the money back from them, you want to continue to serve them and to provide them some more services. I'll put regulations on collections because it's an topic at the minute with IFRS 9. So IFRS 9 regulation has been written now, but it's coming into force now, where you have to provision to understand the lifetime PD. You have to understand what that customer is going to do. So you have to use analytics data to try and predict, and that helps with the Okay, banking characteristics. This might seem critical to the way that banks are going, and I don't mean it to be critical. The reason I put it is because I think that what we need to do is evolve. We're looking at new markets. We need to evolve in terms of how banks can better do things. So currently we have. I'm going to go through them all. So I'm going to stand over here. Banks measure consumer credit risk using baseline criteria. So this is a common trait, and it's quite well in other markets. You can be predictive about how people pay back the credit that they borrowed, or even how they behave when they're banking with you, by using historic trends from other people that have got similarities and have borrowed similar amounts and bank in the same way. So you're able to assess someone, and that assessment can be very good, and is recognised criteria for predictive. But there's probably better ways of doing it, and there's probably, if you're starting now and you have the ability to look, there might be alternative data sources, alternative ways in terms of identifying someone, validating someone, and predicting what their behaviour will look like. Currently, banks exclude specific customer segments, so we were talking about it earlier, but it's very relevant. And it's the same, I'm going to touch on this point with fintech also. So they only want to be profitable. So banks, they want to make money. And historically, how they've done that is they've taken food. So they've taken the people that are seen as the most profitable customers, and they've offered them the services. And they've customers that are seen as in the grey area, so they've actually charged them more. So they have less and they may be borrowing less, but they get charged more. So it's a concept that, it has worked, but to me, when you look at it, you stand back and you look at it, it's a strange concept, and maybe one that can be understood at the time because there's limited data sets to be able to understand them. But now that we have the data, it's a possibility there. Quite difficult to monitor and maintain customers, so that goes back to the customer management. So banks are unable to really identify and treat customers as individuals. That's what I want to get across here. So I log into my email account, it knows who I am. I log into my Facebook account, it knows who I am, what my friends have been doing. It feels more personable. when I go into my bank branch or call them up on the phone, they don't know, you know, they don't have the information up on the screen. Even if they did have the information up on the screen, are they able to understand, you know, what my needs are? I mean, all they understand is the last 4 transactions that I made on my credit card, and the fact that payment coming up in a few days, and how so I'm now more aware that there's data available to be more, and that is very important. That's going to be very important for the future, because it's customer mindset. If they feel that you use them and feel that they're comfortable with you, then you'll stay with that bank and you'll continue. Established markets have historically existed for this, so this is true, but the emerging markets have to adapt. So emerging markets, because of the idiosyncrasies of those markets, they're going to have to adapt. They can't rely on the historic banking processes that existed in Europe in the early 2000s. Still, credit bureau data is useful but can be expensive and untrusted. So I don't want to say credit bureaus because we have 22 credit bureaus. They are a font of knowledge, and they are very, very useful. But they do have limitations, and they can't be relied upon. And you know, credit bureaus have to evolve. So we've got other things coming in that can take their place. So they can't remain static data repositories. They can't remain closed to a subset of subscribers and not allow from people external to they've got to remain. So we come from certain regions where there's little access to data, and therefore the data from the bureaus is seen as more valuable, and therefore the cost is set at that. So the value in the data sets the cost for that credit bureau. And what that does is that reduces the use of the credit bureau because the cost becomes an inhibitor. And then that means that bypassing something that is useful to them for the cost. So they need to be balanced, and there's better ways of doing it. It's an asset to have, it's a credit bureau, but there's other ways that need to be considered. Which comes into ignoring a wealth of data available. So, have a lot more data, capture a lot more data than they're using. So they have data from when you walk in, data from when you call up the customer service, your voice, the way that you're using your voice, the way that your gait when you walk for football, the amount of traffic, the places that you're, all this information is ignored. So it's a huge amount of data. It's a huge amount of data for the banks, but it's ignored. It's unstructured data, so it's difficult to really identify and use it. But as technology grows, servers get faster, data is able to be processed at faster speeds and much quicker. As all this evolves, then the ability to utilise the data can become important. Trends might be seen in utilising that data. So banks need to into that. I put it down as a specific banking. And then the two final ones are ones that maybe long lead times to a decision. I put down 20 days. It's stats that we have in the GCC market, and high costs. 75% of the total credit cost origination process. So yeah, so you've got to onboard them. So you've got to pay for a relationship manager, you pay to acquire some data from the credit bureau. You've got to have the investment in the systems and the solutions that are able to process the workflow to make the decision to do the scoring. But it's still a high amount. It's a huge chunk of your cost, and that's not a cost for the bank, it's a cost for the consumer. So as a consumer, I look at that and I think, wow, the banks can do something better there and should do something better there, which means that I can borrow for less cost. So, answer. So, and expensive to acquire credit from. So, what we have here is the data points that are available to banks for them to use. So, I have structured to unstructured data from relevant later, and then internal to bank and external to bank. So, what we have here is this is the data sets that are currently being in credit decisions. Basic demographics, so easy one to identify. You have a national ID, you have the age of the customer. You're able to identify marital status, dependents. Easy questions that you're able to collect. And primarily, this and the transactions, so I'm working with that customer, maybe from a covenant banking, so, or savings or everyday banking and payments. I'm making transactions. Where am I making those transactions? What are the level of those transactions? What are the characteristics of those transactions? Do I already have credit? Do I have a credit card or a loan or short-term loan with that bank already? If I do, I'm paying that loan. So am I paying that loan on time? Am I paying it? How am I paying it? Cash? Am I paying it? The bank transfer? And each market is very different for that. These are the core to what goes into making a credit score. So one of the areas that Cliff works strongly on is we provide analytics to assess all the data that's available here, which is, maybe there's 200 specific data points in these two bubbles here, and from those 200 I might be able to pull 10 that are relevant to the prediction of going forward. And the other unstructured bit on this side is I can get information from other banks' credit bureaus, which is important. So, is that consumer business? Are they over leveraged with other customers? Do they have many different relationships? And what are those banking relationships? How are they making payments to those banks? Do they have credit? Do they have payments for them? What are they doing? Insurance as well. So in certain markets, we have data repositories similar to credit bureaus. There's insurance data which is kept, which again is another valuable asset to be able to see the credit worthiness of an individual. Then in certain markets we have government agency data. Really important on commercial lending, so tax returns. You might have in the government score on salary. You might have company establishment, your employer details on those, which might be relevant to the employee, because the ability for me to pay a loan is directly proportional to me getting paid from my employer. So these are the data points, and it's considerable, and it's proven successful, and can be quite predictive, and is suitable for regulatory compliance. So, as you know, we have this together, not measure, but it's an example of an assessment that would go through. So you have some data that would come in from different portions of the bubbles. Then you would have some calculations, and then we would have an output. And in this example, the output, but this is a score. The score is useful because you're able to order rank that individual, place where they are in terms of so who you want to lend to. So sometimes it can be the output can be a decision, but sometimes the output can be a score. And there's other examples. So here we have the input data. We have payment history, as we discussed, level of debt, negative information. So you can sometimes get some negative information. That can come from the government data repositories. It can come from the credit bureau. Maybe there's another area to get negative information from, which we can discuss. Levels. So if you're overdue on any loan account, if you're dropping through, it's important. Demographics, as we discussed, age, marital status, nationality and GCC, important. Maybe not so much here. Number of providers, active account value. in the calculations, we work all this out in their trade lines, their delinquency, their utilisation, and then we come out with a score. This is the way that a current process is achieved. Upon these limited data sets, these limited calculations, and this score, a bank then decide whether they're going to give a card to that consumer, and if they do what level of the credit card it's going to be. So, I mean, I'm not simplistic, but it's a good system, it's robust, but it has problems. So what we see now in almost every market is we see financial technology taking a much stronger position. So we see financial technology extending into the banking space. So, I mean, it's still the same problem with this low-hanging fruit. So tech companies are going for the profitable customer, so therefore they're offering certain services, but only to the same set that the bank are chasing for, which has some problems. But the banks are investing. So what this table is telling us is that where banks are investing their capex. So percentage share of the banking capex, and it doesn't have to be because there's treasury, there's other areas, there's operations where investment might come from capex. But what is specific to us is the customer sector, retail, commercial, and large corporates, and then account management, lending and finance, payments, financial assets, and capital markets. So, large corporates, zero almost investment in financial technology into large corporates. Assessment of managing a large corporate is a very traditional relationship process. And it would be very difficult and would take time to automate. Ultimately, what we're trying to get to here is automation and making faster decisions better for the customer. So, less investment on the large corporates across all commercial. So, as you can see, account management and deposits for commercial. Lending and finance are quite a considerable amount, which is surprising. So what this says is a global stat, but what this says is that banks are looking at that segment of commercial activity, and they're saying, we can automate it. Yes, we can add some additional bits that would be suitable for that segment, and therefore we should invest. Same with payments for commercial. So we obviously see some sort of problem with payments, and therefore the investment is reasonably high. Not so much on the financial. Then we get to retail. So retail is the sweet spot, as it were. So this is where it really, really does play a part, because the numbers, the volumes are considerably higher. Available is significantly more. You have the ability to automate. I mean, in certain churches, we have automation, credit cards which are approved online or through telephone within seconds, and a real decision, not a decision in principle. A real decision, putting data points made in seconds. So is the sweet spot, and where you have large populations, where you have competitive banking markets, what you really want to do is you want to be the bank that's able to understand that individual, assess that individual, and make a good decision. It makes sense that, and this is globally, but it makes sense that a lot of the investment is happening in the retail space. So, what can we do better? So, and it's easy to say we can use big data, but what is big data? So, we now have the ability, the technical ability, and the data captured to be able to have huge data available to us. So everything that we do on a daily basis, we leave a footprint behind online. So we have this we give up, and we accept it. We give up our data to get something back. So we give up our data to because we get some knowledge back from them, we get some ability to share, and we're happy. It doesn't feel like it costs me anything, so we're happy. We give up data all the time, leaving a footprint behind all the time, and the servers are now capable of storing that digital footprint and specifying it's for me and linking up. Everything seems to be linked. So I can go to one site and to another site, and there's cookies that follow that other people are able to view. We know that they're there. We know that but we keep them because it doesn't mean anything to us. It's for us. It's a certain data column. When I want to log in somewhere, so I accept it, but it is giving up a lot of data. With all of this data and with all of this technology ability, CPU power, we're able to mine that data and understand a lot more about an individual than we ever thought before. So it opens up a whole world, which allows us to, if I focus on credit because that's really what makes sense, it allows us to individualize an assessment. So we can really look at that consumer individual, and we can try the traits that other people similar to that individual to help us to make a better decision for who they are. With risk-based pricing, so it's a common one, but it's a calculation. It helps with which is ultimately what every bank wants to do. These are, to me, the impressive ones. It helps with banks. So people that aren't banking, and therefore the slide before, they're not banking, to bank. How do I assess them for credit? Well, the data has to be here. As banks move to digital acquisition and more to facing and more onto the side of faceless banking, which is the customer wants, they want fast banking. It opens up those banks to fraud. And how do I identify fraud? Anything? It can only be in the data. So all of this comes out from the data. And an important point to mention of this is I a while back worked at another company which ran credit bureau. We had a specific department that looked at competitors. So back in 2005, 2006, we had a few credit bureaus. Said, what's going to happen in 10 years? Who's going to be our competitor in 10 years? And this is before the birth of big data. The primary competitor identified was Google. And it was a completely wild concept at the time. This is 2005. Google were capturing a lot of data, but nothing related to financial issues, nothing related to the financial industry. But it was identified then that they are collecting so much data that this data will be valuable and will potentially have some bearing on the traits and the behaviours, which could then be used for financial assessment. And maybe the department that came up with that were astute at the time. Maybe they shouldn't have specified specific companies. So yes, Google, big, still exists. Might not exist next year. So it's not so much about the actual entity, it's about the process and the flow that is relevant. So it's more about, for me, it's search engines in that case. It should have been search engines. Google can come, Google can go. Facebook can go. But something that captures the data that they're doing, so search engines are relevant and should be utilised in the credit system. So where can we get data? Giving two away. This is not a slide, and I'm not sure where to give the relevant military, but this is a relevant slide of the internet in 10 seconds. So it's one element of where we can get data from. This is big data. And I looked at this is 2017 stats. If I looked at this in 2015, halved, almost halved. So in those 2 years, 2015 to 2017, everything on here is almost doubled. So 2018, it could have doubled again, but, we're not sure. But this is the footprint that people are leaving behind. This is the information that you and I have left on the internet because of the transactions that we're doing, which are not relevant to financial services. Some interesting ones that Facebook's the obvious one, so a lot of things that we're doing on Facebook. The posts that we're making, the information we're leaving, the sentiment that we have is there. WhatsApp, that's huge success in terms of growth. What are we saying on WhatsApp? What's the information that's available on WhatsApp? There's a wealth of information in there. Amazon. So Amazon's becoming bigger and bigger, this Goliath of how much data do I leave behind on Amazon? How much data is available there? Well, address information is available here. I have 6 addresses here on Amazon. Is that relevant to credit assessment? No, I think it is. LinkedIn is very useful. It's useful for designating, but it's particularly useful for fraud, identifying the honesty of is their LinkedIn profile the same as the information that they've provided for their credit assessment. YouTube can hold some information, difficult to assess, but can hold some. Twitter, it's teetering around on there. It sometimes grows. There was a similar slide which showed the profit of these companies, and all of them are making money except Twitter. But it still exists, so it must be some advantage to it. All of this information, huge vast of information, but complete structure. So it's available to me for my needs, but how do I access it? How do I use it? What does it mean? Does it really have any relevance? What Netflix films I'm watching, in whether I'm going to pay back my credit card on time? Well, yes. I mean, we don't know. We don't know until we start to look at the data and we start to look at the trends. So one particular was done in the US was looking at customer service representatives. So customer service representative in a specific call centre, thousands of their payment of a specific utility bill. All these customer service agents, and then their payment on this utility bill for a period of 6 months. What came out from the data was that it was information. The customer service agents utilizing Internet Explorer were less likely to pay on time. I mean, the information's there. Does it mean anything? It shows their content. Okay, advantages the big data. I mean, we've discussed many of these and a bit. We capture the unbanked. We make more accurate decisions, and we increase speed. All of this is possible only with the access to the correct data. So only when we have the data is all of this available. And I'm going to go into these points in slightly more detail. So this is what we started off with. What we're utilising. These are the data points that banks are utilising. Now, this is what the banks can utilise. So, in actual fact, this is what the banks can utilise, but I think we have to start with one second at a time. So, we have social media comments, we have geolocation information that we're using, from where we're travelling, from where we're banking, telecommunication data, voice that we're ringing up, the voice that we're utilising, all this can be analysed. Utilities data. Even bank. So this is internal to the bank, where we have structured data, we have unstructured data, video analysis of when they're walking into store, input from RMs. RMs are showing a lot of information about business, especially commercial lending. That information is relevant. It's impossible to capture currently, being able to identify the unstructured data. Call centre notes. So not necessarily what you're doing with the call centre or what you're saying, But what the call thinks that you're doing when they're writing the note, it's unstructured data there, and it's important to credit decisioning. So this is the amount of data that can be relevant. I'm going to give two examples of how this can be utilised. So, new credit process, mobile phone. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's using mobile phone. I mean, I only landed yesterday, and everybody that's on their mobile phone, from waiting at the airport into the hotel, everybody's utilising their mobile phone. There's a wealth of data you have on your mobile phone. In certain territories, primarily in Africa, 100% decision is being done. Data is captured on your mobile device. It might not be what you think, so it might not be what you think is relevant, but mobile phone usage is important. The calls that you're making make sense. The battery level may be more applicable to the African market. So what we see is people with that are constantly running out of power. Maybe they're going elsewhere to fill up that power. That shows that they are a higher risk. They're forgetful. Maybe there's some other information that's behind that. But battery level is an important one. International dialing makes sense. International travel I've got on there as well also makes sense. The volume they're using through their mobile usage, the peak time usage, are they people that don't in peak time? All of this information is available to banks to make a credit assessment. The one at the end, SMS messages from banking providers. So what we have had experience of in other markets is this in text message on the mobile phone accessible for a bank. Permission and consent. It's important that you get the consent, and they will give it the credit that they want. But I don't know, in this market, in the UAE and in the other markets that we're working at, on my SMS messages, I have transactions through my current account, transactions through my credit card, on my credit card, payments on my bank account, deposits, level, credit, all this information is stored in free text in SMS on my phone. So it's a wealth of information which I think has been untapped. It's important to know that this is not a subjective assessment. This is an accurate assessment, utilising data on the mobile phone, making a score. So back to the first slide that we saw, a scorecard with these data points as predictable as making a scorecard utilising the data points that banks currently rely upon. It's something which is banks need to pay attention to and need to start evolving into that space. One of the examples here is one that's a hot topic, which is fraud. So, big data, moving to digital acquisition encourages people can hide. Where there's huge of people that are moving from unbankable to bankable, the movement of fraud only increases. Where there's movement of fraud. And this is fraud internal, external. This is fraud where I inflate my self-worth. This is fraud where I pretend to be somebody that I'm not. This is going to increase on an equal level to the bankable space increasing. When you move to utilising big data, that element can play an important part. But the data doesn't lie. So, I might lie, but my footprint on the internet does not lie. And therefore, the utilisation of big data is very important. I'm able to look at anything and be able to identify a lot of information from the big data, which is unstructured. From application audit trail, external agents, chat, there's information there that I'm leaving as I'm applying on a site here and then moving to an IP address and applying here. These IP addresses that might be relevant to one individual multiple times. There's bad data usage. So I can understand mismatch of data. I can understand when someone
generic, repeating and repeating generic answers. You pick up on known phone numbers. So a phone number has been used for activity. I don't want to make that again. Fool me once, it's my fault. Fool me twice, it's just as bad. Abnormal behaviour. Big data can really pick up on abnormal behaviour because you look at the analysis. So there's this scatter of information, but where there's transactions which are very unusual, you can immediately mark for unusual activity, and then the net closes. Then you only have to assess those data points for looking at abnormal behaviour. Inconsistent application speed. This is what we have a score, which is a fully online psychometric. And I answer questions. What's my favourite colour? What does this picture mean to me? What does if my school fees are paid? What do I tell the school? And I'm given multiple choice answers. One of the strongest, very good, very useful, has been by finance houses in the UAE, where they're looking at subprime of individuals. But one of the main points of the psychometric is not the answers that we get from the psychometric assessment, it's the speed at which the person does that psychometric assessment. So either go click, 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 A, B, C, are they making it up? It is a very important element. I feel that maybe that would be the same that applies to a bank account. If someone's going through something too quick, they've done it before, it doesn't mean but it's an outlier to identify and to follow up to see if they are. Answers. So, where they have an answer over here, and then when the similar question comes up, is a completely different answer. It's standard for assessment. And then so our devices that we use, the way that we assess, I mentioned IP addresses, but the apps that you use, they all are monitoring where you are. They all where you're going. We work with one bank, and they use the app to identify where ATM withdrawals. So you're not withdrawing from their ATM, but they know exactly where you are. So they've got the app. The transaction is done. They know exactly where you are. So you're leaving this footprint behind. Location assessment for GPS on apps, on the phone, on IP addresses, on the internet browser can reveal fraudulent activity. Its assessment and management. Yes, this is my last slide. Power of using new technologies. So, in conclusion, quickly, faster and fairer access to funding. So, utilising data, position, mobile phones, all of this gives me faster access to data, faster access to funding, and fairer. Inclusive credit society. So going back to the point I made at the beginning, I don't think that with less should pay more for the credit. With less should just be able to borrow less. It should be more. So the risk-based pricing needs to be adjusted for that, and it can be done within the big data. More competition for the availability of data, with the ability to not have to establish a bank and set up a branch and employ employees. Competition for the disbursement is only going to increase. That competition is good for the consumer, not for the bank. Need to change and evolve, but it's good for the consumer and it makes for a more competitive edge. This raises the point of credit application. I should have touched on earlier, is an important point. I can now apply for credit anywhere. So that means I can apply for credit at the point of sale. So I want to buy a TV, I can immediately, whilst I'm there, shop floor, apply for the credit that's to the asset that I'm trying to acquire. I get that immediate ability to take it home, and the bank gets the ability to be able to lend me money and a small slice of that. These are the 5 important points for utilising the new technology in credit assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Now, I know that you probably have questions. but I'm going to ask you questions until our next speaker, who needs absolutely no introduction, is because he unfortunately has a hard stop. He has to get to the airport, so I don't want him to miss his flight. Although it would be nice to have him with us for lunch, but that's not going to happen. Mr. Nadeem Hussain is the former CEO of Tanir Bank and is currently the CEO of Planet N Ventures. Please welcome Mr. Nadeem.
Is this on? Oh, great. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. We need more energy in this room. Okay, that was a fascinating speech by Lawrence. Incidentally, Lawrence, we've got 50 years to talk about, because that's the future. Data is the new oil. Without data, you're just going to get disaggregated. Luckily for us, banks are not looking at this, so fintechs can pick this up. We have 3 startups. In fact, our latest venture, which is financial services, is we provide cash to you in your hands. You download an app, the algorithm goes through your smartphone data. If you're approved, we real-time push your money into a wallet, you take it out from branches back. So compare that with 1 month that you do if you apply for a credit card in Pakistan. Data is changing everything. So do this if you are not doing it right. So I'm going to share a story with you. Lawrence, I'm going to switch between English and Urdu, okay? So apologies in advance. That's the national language we have. So, I worked Citibank में काम किया, and I worked. तकरीबन 13 साल पहले, I was looking after Iraq of all places for Citibank. I gone to Jordan to do assessment, and I looked at microfinance. I was thinking of coming back to the case, and microfinance is interesting because if you look at most developing countries, there's a huge amount of financial exclusion. The people in Pakistan and in developing countries don't have access to credit. आपके ख्याल से पाकिस्तान में formal credit कितने लोगों के पास? Credit cards, autos, mortgages, personal loans. Throw in microfinance as well. In a country of people, how many people have access to formal credit? In the entire banking, microfinance in the banking system. Take a guess.
5%.
10%.
Number 1 million people, 10% would be million people. Yeah?
Only 5% of the total.
5% is what? 6.5 million people right now have access to credit. Active customers. In a country of 200 million people, only 6.5 million people in the formal banking sector. So, anybody looking at this, there's a huge opportunity over here, especially alternative ways of assessing their credit. So, अगर आपने पाकिस्तान में not the Imran Khan तब्दीली करनी है, so you need to figure out how to access the bulk of the people. कितने accounts banking accounts कितने? Commercial banking since 1947, how many bank accounts?
Majority are corporate banks.
Consumer मिला सब मिला.
A little under 25 million.
Active about 32 million, okay?
Yeah, it's like the basic banking account.
Yeah. I mean, including the basic 32 million bank accounts. What is the amount of premium over a GDP for insurance? You think it's high, low, medium, life insurance, health insurance? Take out personal insurance. Under 1%. Okay. So we're grossly underinsured. Banking accounts don't exist. Number of bank branches? Yeah, 12,700. ATM? It's around 7,000-8,000. So about 18,000 total base and water network. Right? So if you look at this, then you figure out there's an opportunity. Create a bank masses, and subsequently if you can create something which is not dependent on bricks and mortars, you're going to create something which is going to be. What did Amir Bank, which is now Telenor Bank, just get? Alipay just purchased 45% of Tamir Bank, which is now Telenor Bank. What was the post money value?
$410 million.
$410 million. So you create something years from scratch, which is now worth $410 million. What was Habib Bank worth? His Highness bought into it. $210 million. Look at the power. Second largest bank in Pakistan at that time, the dollar was 60 rupees and 20 now, 160. So you're saying Tani Bank's valuation came up to what Habib Bank's valuation was. What was the value Ali Baba seeing? It's a microfinance bank, it makes $9 million. What was it paying? I wish instantly they'd come 18 months ago. But good luck.
Access. Penetration.
How many customers does Tani Bank have, including over the counter? 20 million customers. That's what they think. We are telling you, the entire banking industry doesn't have that number. 20 million customers, including over the counter, not just mobile. Mobile wallet is about 8 million. And what's the distribution network, including branches banking agents? 75, 80, 90. So compare that with bricks and mortar, banking industry, 12,700, total number of accounts, and a single institution. So we're going to get into how did we create that? Was it a bit of luck? Was it something that we are forcing? How did this team think of this to create something which is, 10 million? Incidentally, it was only valued in 100 million I sold, but I'm not complaining. So I'll tell you, I put much when I started. So sitting in Dubai, I was with my team, and this one person came to talk about microfinance, and I wanted to get back to Pakistan. Back, she's in politics, so I was commuting from Dubai every week. And I wanted to come back and do something in Pakistan. I didn't want to be another city banker, which had done well, in the sea of Pakistani city bankers. I wanted to come back and do something for Pakistan. I also wanted to leave a legacy. Everybody does. So there were only two licenses available at the time. You could get a commercial license, or you could get a microfinance bank. And commercial bank, you only get a bank, Islamic bank, because commercial bank licenses, state banks, they stopped giving out advice. So, एक license $100 million का, एक license का $10 million का. What's the license? Right, so it was an easy decision because I didn't have $100 million, but I think I could put together $10 million. So I worked 27 years for Citigroup. At that time, Citigroup was trading at 27, which is great. Went down to $1 at one time. I cashed in all my options, severance pay, everything else, and I came up with $2 million. After 2 years, I was worth $2 million. But in school, I thought if I make $1 million, right? So ambitions changes. But I needed $10 million, and I wanted to have control of the bank. Because I said, if I'm not going to work for anybody, then you need to have control. गाड़ी में कितने भी पैसेंजर हो, wheel आपको चाहिए. You want to be the driver. You drive the direction. So I had to create a structure whereby with this $2 million, you would have management control. So the work it is that at that time, since I was working with Iraq, I was IFC working with OPIC. OPIC is a US agency which looks at funding people outside US. It's in the US interest in it. So I created a holding company called EMC Market Technologies, and I put in $1 million, the $1 million that I had, because the management team I got equity. There were guys working with me in Dubai. I had to bring them in, so I also gave them dollar salaries that they were making in Dubai because they were very skeptical whether this thing would work. I was fortunate in the sense my wife was a big supporter of mine. I was giving up this tax-free salary in Dubai, doing what I would say all-in kind of move and creating this bank in Pakistan. Of the 27 years, I'd only worked 5 years in Pakistan. I had never been an entrepreneur. I was 48 years old at the time, and I had never worked in microfinance. So there were question marks on whether this entity would succeed or not. लेकिन एक बात है शेर बेखतर कूद पड़ा दूध में इश्क अकल है मैं भी तमाशा है लबे बाहों भी. तो ये उर्दू चैलेंज प्लीज बताइए इसका मतलब क्या है. बताइए.
Scenarios unfold itself.
Okay, so इसका background ये कुरान में आयत है मूसा को फिरौन ने कहा कि तुम्हारा अगर खुदा है तो उस पर चले कूद जाओ तो हज़रत मूसा ने सोचा नहीं और आग में कूद पड़े और ये आग को ठंडा हो जाए ठंडी हो जाए तो बेखतर कूद पड़ा आतिश नमरूद में when you have passion and you're thinking from your heart, I'm not saying it always works, you decide because your brain is still analyzing the three scenarios, worst case, best case, doing cash flow, says it's not going to work. In Dubai, I would say, I've never worked in Pakistan, microfinance, I'm putting my life into this one venture, that's a risky proposition. Why am I doing this? But my passion was that I wanted to come back. And I wasn't arrogant, but I was confident that I would make this work. So I burnt my boats. So, that's what sometimes you take decisions from your heart, because all the analysis you don't do this. And sometimes you get it wrong. But God was kind to me, I got it right. So here then I went to OPIC and I said, listen, give me a loan at the holding company level to pay you 3 dividends. And I'm going to give your loan to go down as equity into Tawil Bank. So $5 million loan, $6 million, so we own 60%. I also took a loan for 3.5 years, 4 years, 3 years to cover the interest because I knew we wouldn't pay dividends out in the first 3 years. So OPIC was very kind to me. And I went to the central bank, showed them this flow that was going to happen. So we own 60%. IFC came in for 10%, they put in $1 million, and 2 investors came in for $3 million. That was $10 million. That's how Tawil got started with $1 million of capital, 60% of the bank. And we came in, there were the guys from Citibank, from Dubai, Ali Abab Sikandar and Shahid Mustafa, the current CEO of Tenra Bank, and Tariq Wahar, who had hired at UGL at the time. That was the first we started microfinance and we said, Karachi's got a population of 20 million people, outside Karachi, 20 million लोग यहाँ हैं, बाकी बैंक जो हैं, and what was interesting was there were very few banks in Karachi. And in our typical Citibank arrogance, we thought we could walk in water, not get wet. Smart people, very expensive. Said Karachi is it. That was red flag. All the other microfinance banks in Karachi. Here we did 25,000 loans, zero default. Okay, so say we're going to make money the next year. It's 3-year projection. Make money is too conservative. Industry idiots. City bankers, we know this stuff. Where do you think our delinquency went the next year?
10%.
25%. So from 0% delinquency, we went to 25%. At the same time, we were experiencing a normal cash burn a startup has. Salaries, you have to pay rent, software, you have to pay for marketing. Nobody gives you a discount because they think you pay the same. In fact, for your deposit. So we had a normal cash burn happening, and then we were writing off loans, and because we were so measured by our own success in the first year that we didn't put in compensating for the loan. We didn't understand this business enough to grow at the pace we were growing. So the first thing was, don't be overconfident. Look at the competition. What is the market doing? Why do you think you succeed when they haven't succeeded? Okay, and don't read your own too much. Don't become, legend in your own mind because it will come bite you. Now, yeah, if you're working at Citibank or a corporate, and I was doing this as a paid CEO of this institution, my outlook would have been there, but my sense of would have been different. All your capital in yourself. Okay, you don't margin for error left because you don't know that the check is coming end of the month or not. Because large corporates keep paying you, you won't get a bonus. Okay, mistake, move on. There's no margin for error. In your startup, if you're funding it, dollars and cents. We had come from the world of Citigroup, where everything had been given to us. So if I moved countries, the entire infrastructure was there, the team was there, the software services were there. Here we started from scratch. The first reality check was, services, And I thought, we found a house, so we said we'll rent this house. So I went to the landlord and said, when do I sign? He said, upon. Citibank, you didn't have to say who you were. You just got that thing. And what is Tamil Bank? He said, आपको कब्जा through आपको मिलेगा. What was the first check that when you start with the umbrella with a big brand behind you, and you go up to the world of your own, then the world looks at you differently. But that's a great lesson. आपकी दुनिया most likely मेरी दुनिया की तरह थी. Airport, Marriott, Clifton, Defense, and the other defense बना करता था. Because we are 0.0001% of Pakistan. Tamil Bank, Karachi. Sorry?
Korangi,
Korangi, Gulshan, Shujani Town, Liari, Landi. वहाँ अगर आप वापस नहीं आ सकता था. Okay? Because Tamil Bank का पूरा customer base in the outskirts with the bulk of the population. Defense and Clifton are negative areas. The opposite, okay? So that's customer base. So actually, Tamil Bank, we opened 185 branches, and I opened all of them. From Karachi Fish Harbour to Swat. All of them. And once a year, I always took a road trip. Visit every branch. And it was great seeing the real Pakistan. Mandatory. Okay, coming back. So the second year, we experienced increase in delinquency, and the capital was eroding. Our capital was coming down. We were getting very close to the minimum capital requirement. What had happened was we were being gamed. So in the we were focused on sales. We were viewing, because we were consumer bankers, we were viewing this in a consumer-led kind of model. Sales. It's different. It's a people-to-people business. In consumer banking, you sell a card, you sell a loan, you sell a mortgage, again. Call center calls in. It's only when you have a collection problem, you get into mid-range or hardcore calls in there. Microfinance, you have to be the guy every day, every wedding, every day. It's a people-to-people business. So you need to understand who your customer is. So what was happening was, at the branch level in Karachi, it started to work with the branch manager. And they had reverse engineered the files so that the approval could take place. So, what debt flow we were looking at, and they were starting the games. So every month we were giving trophies to the branch manager who was giving the most amount of loans. Agents were getting the loans, agents were giving the collection. The branch manager was never leaving the field. We had no second of what the branch manager was doing. So what happened was, in one branch, the agent and the manager got into a dispute. The branch manager was getting was not enough. No. But then result was the agent failed. What happened to the customers? ब्रांच मैनेजर को पता ही नहीं था, वो तो एजेंट पैसे लेके आ रहा था. ब्रांच मैनेजर हमसे ही सब छुपा रहा था. So delinquency started shooting up. So we sent a man to find out what's going on. And instead of this whole touts that were operating outside the branches on behalf of managers, practically 9 branch managers were involved. पैसे बन रहे, एजेंसी पैसे बन रहे, हमारे मिल रहे, चैंपियन बना. So at that time we made several pivots. One, we created a separate verification unit. In addition to the branch, there was physical verification being done independently. Added cost, but it was a cost. In Tamil Bank, after this session, after the second, third year, effort never went beyond 2%. Because we had created that learning that we had. When you got your skill in the game, you learn really fast. You figure out. Second thing we did was we moved out of Karachi. In addition to Karachi, we diversified. We went to Lahore, other towns. The third thing we did was we figured out, okay, we've got an unsecured portfolio, but is there a way of creating a secured portfolio in this, what security do you think the has? All of them have it. What do you think? खवातीन को बताना चाहिए. Jewelry. Because in Pakistan, do you know how much gold we import every year? If you go to the World Gold Council and imports, what do you think we import? Dollar bill value. Yes, कोई बात नहीं आंसर. Yes, नहीं हाँ. ऊपर चले.
5.
$7 billion in our yearly consumption. $7 billion. And how much of this gold is spread around? Every Pakistani female has some form of gold trinket available. Saving for the poor, then, being a fashion accessory, it's the same thing. So we figured, can we find a method where we can take this gold, use it for that, and, so we secure some of our lending, plus at the time, we didn't allocate any capital if it was secured by gold. That means my entire that I was building up didn't require additional capital because there was zero weightage. So the product we came up with farmers, because agriculture is, the neglected sector here. We said find a small farmer, 3 to 4 acres, find the crop that he's going to sow, look at his acreage, figure out how much inputs he needs, how much fertilizer he needs, land leveling, seed. And what is he sowing and what's the sale value of that going to be? And we started giving loans collateralized based on our assessment. So we asked for twice the amount he needed, we wouldn't do that. But we would give this goal out in about, this loan out in about 2 hours versus 14 days. Now, when we went up to 70% of our portfolio against gold, what's my biggest in gold lending? Okay, so we were giving 70%. We had a top-up facility, so that we wrote the price of gold down. Didn't make too many losses in there because people pay gold, so they topped up. So we catered for that, rate fluctuation. What's the biggest risk in gold? So now imagine this. We were holding close to 10 billion rupees worth of gold in our vaults. Now, in the GHQ, Army headquarters, you can get into our single biggest what if there was a theft, the planned robbery, into our vaults in the head office. Because while we had distributed, initially we were giving all the gold in one place. The insurance was reinsured. It's tricky. It says 4 cameras need to be on, 2 guards need to be there, 1 camera bande, guard. Your claim was denied. Okay, you can fight with that, insurance company, but you get. Alright. So the concern was the theft. So then we put a guy coming in from Lloyd's of London to give us an assessment of how to manage this. What's the second biggest risk? Because they're not credit risk. But I'm trying to say that in microfinance, these are operational risks which can come and bite you. So if you create a heat map, what's my probability of event happening and what's the impact? Okay, so the nightmare was not that you would have bad loans, because you can write out bad loans. A single event, it could wipe you out. So we created IP locks so that people could access, our vault, which was, we got insurances. The other big risk is, operational fraud. It's a solution level, the gold value, with the valuer, because the third party valued the gold, and we ran into some gaming problems. That's the reason most microfinance institutions don't get into this, is that operationally it's very tough. It's a huge market. Anyway, so those are 3 things we pivoted. Secured lending, diversification out of geography, and the third thing was the verification. So in the third year we started recovering some of those. We had write-offs of about 170 million, which we recovered about I would say 50%, the rest we actually wrote down. Great lesson to learn because it was in the second year. Imagine what happened to us, when we had a 10 million, portfolio. So earlier on, if you get bird, that's great. TAZE, which is our lending program. Right now, we've been gamed. Our delinquency is sitting around 40%, 20% of which is because of fraud. 20% is credit. The credit is fine because the algorithm is learning right now. It's blind. But not to create your algorithm, bad customers. Because you differentiate between bad and good customers. You pay for creating the algorithm. So right now, anybody who applies, we get their credit history, unless they're already in negative bureau, we give them. So 20%, 30% delinquency will come down to 7%, 9% in 18 months self-learning algorithm. But what I was expecting was this high amount of gaming. Is identity theft. It just was. In fact, it was a cybercrime unit and we got an FIR registered. If you want to, create people who want to game us. But it's a learning thing. It's so happy it's happening now, not when we've got 5 million customers. Because it will be very difficult to absorb. Third year, in time, started coming down, gold portfolio started going up, verification unit was working, but we were getting low in the cap. In fact, we breached our minimum capital. Remember, I had made $2 million, I said, so I put in my second $1 million. All in, okay? And for error, the shareholders we had put their part in, we have 60%. I had no savings there. Okay, so we had to make this work. I had no other choice. It was, he said, listen, while the branches we are creating are relatively inexpensive compared to what I was doing at Citibank. Okay, 1/10 the cost. Season of branches, the standardized branches, we had a McDonald's kind of approach, branches, which was just worked out what a cost of a branch would be. I mean, fully equipped branch. With a ward, with tellers, everything else. But we wanted scale and we couldn't figure out, we had to sit down and figure out because the amount of money they was taking to create even low branches, and we had a branch, and we had a service center, we had a community center, so different level of branch, distribution as well. It's when we thought of branchless banking. That's when we thought of Easy Pesa. And Easy Pesa is, by GSM, the second largest branch bank deployment in the world. So Easy Pesa got created because we figured out कि हमें क्या करना है अपना branch network बढ़ाने के लिए without having to spend our own capital. So when we stepped back, we said, okay, let's look at banking density, let's look at phone density. Branchless banking agents, let's look at branches. Let's look at GSM, prepaid, postpaid, and how people getting access to their mobiles. So we wanted to use a railroad that existed, pay for establishing it, we wanted to get the ecosystem. Right? अब मैं देखूं, मैंने कहा कितने एजेंट्स हैं ब्रांचेस बैंक के तरफ multiple agents, 450,000 state bank agents. Unique agents, I would say about 100,000. So 100 agents all over Pakistan. Why? What's the percentage of prepaid versus postpaid in Pakistan? 98%. 98% of Pakistani subscribers are prepaid. What does that mean? That means they have to get a top up or a scratch card every time. Where do they get the scratch cards?
Shops.
Shops, right? So a telco has to create the network if they want to survive. What's the most denomination for a scratch card? 50 rupees. Okay?
Zero.
Yeah, 50 rupees. So that means, imagine the frequency people have to get a top up. And how many subscribers in Pakistan now?
160 million.
90 million. Unique. Not the number of sales outstanding, unique. Alright? So, 90 million people exist. You've got 100,000 branches banking agents. These guys Sunday? Open Sunday? No. At what time do they close?
2 a.m.
Right. So, if we could harness this network and create a financial sector there, then suddenly we would disaggregate the banks. We wouldn't be dependent on ATM because if a microfinance customer goes to a normal branch, what happens? क्या होता है? उसको सब तैयार हो जाते हैं, दूसरी तरह से लाइन में लग जाते हैं उसको सर्विस देने के लिए, उसको साइड में खड़ा कर देते हैं. They put him on the side. They don't treat him as a customer the way he's dressed because they don't like him. Lobby, it's not their target market. It's like when you go and pay utility bill, you get this whole queue, other queue, student motor. Banks don't like it to be clogged. So that's what we were looking at. How do we disagree the banking sector? And how do we create something where we don't? Because creating is a lot of money and a lot of effort. All this stuff. Okay, you go and talk to an agent right now. Now, when the amount of money they make, from just, agent, they basically determines his telco ke saath kaam karne. Anyway, now the thing that was the challenge was about to come out. There are two kind of models: bank-led and telco-led. What model does Kenya have? Any ideas? Because PESA is the largest deployment in the world of banking. Telco-led. So they created a committee over here with PTA, central bank, and some independent like myself, trying to figure out what kind of model we should have. So what do you think my interest was? And the central bank obviously was very keen to control this because they think they know they're responsible for financial inclusion. Telcos were dreaming what? Who are the only people who are more arrogant than bankers? वो दुनिया में रहने थे कि टेलको लेट मॉडल होगा. I knew it from day one. So we positioned ourselves. We went to CGAP. We got a grant. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, $500,000, and we did our homework on what banking would look like. We did a lot of homework. We did a lot of prep. We went to Kenya. We went to Philippines. When the telcos came shopping, they went to banks to find who did they find head and shoulders above everybody else? Because we had spent time, energy, services preparing ourselves for this. So Jazz came to see us, Tenor came to see us. At that time, useful talking so. Anyway, when they came to us, they decided we would be the partner because they positioned ourselves. We wanted them to be super agent. They wanted equity. So that was the next thing. Tenor put a deal on the table. They said, we want 60% equity. At that time, Tabi Bank was losing we were losing a couple of $1 million. And we were very close to minimum capital. After the $1 million I put in, I would say 3 months before we hit that capital again. So I had 3 months to negotiate a deal. But you can't be vulnerable or can't look like you're exposed. So I played hardball with them. We're not going to give you 60%. State Bank won't allow it. But they said, we want control. So we agreed on 51%. 50%, we would go down to 29%. They would have 51%. Now, startups usually have this dilemma. I don't want to lose control. मैंने कंपनी बनाई है 51% में किसी और को दे रहा हूँ, I want to have this absolute control. No, it's not the issue. My 60% of X would be worth something, but my 29% of X times 10 would be worth a lot. We had confidence in the team that we understood banking and the telco didn't understand banking. They would require us. The reason they wanted 6% was that at 76% you can hire the CEO. You can change the nature of the company. So I gave them that right that they could fire me. Right? Give them comfort. Because again, the confidence was that we understood. Central bank looked at us, create fraud, why would they want to fire us? As long as we did on the up, everything was sure, they'd be reliant on us and firing us. They wanted a license for practice banking, they weren't that interested in microfinance. Okay, but the vehicle they use to microfinance license, it is called Wasila right now. But we knew that we could make enough money on the microfinance side and create this branch in the banking industry. So we ended up, negotiating with them. Sometimes events happen which we are told. We got into a what I called a very nice valuation. And then in India, the government basically came up with the revelation that the licenses that were given to telco providers had been done in a fraudulent manner, and the guys that Telenor had used as the local partner probably leased farms, and the license got revoked. Paid for the license for that bandwidth, $2 billion. Overnight, Telenor lost $2 billion. Their deputy chairman, who is now the chairman, Sigway, moved to India. And our small deal, which was locally, got elevated to the because suddenly after this $2 billion loss, share price of Telenor had dropped globally, and suddenly they were not doing everything, they were preserving capital. So what I nice negotiation at the local level, when I was about to close the deal, so they came back to us and gave us an offer, okay, which was probably was their sense that since we're so far down the line, let's give this guy an offer, he's most likely going to say no, and we'll figure out what to do. They didn't understand, मेरे पास सिर्फ 3 महीने बाकी थे. Okay, so I had no choice but to take that, but I still had to negotiate that. So we were in Islamabad, final round negotiation, the local CEO, the M&A guy, now different team negotiating, I was negotiating. They gave us an offer. So, I said, guys, write my number on this piece of paper. I'm going to go out and have a cigarette. At that time, I used to smoke. 25th December. When I come back, you don't have this number, there's no deal. So I went out, I lit my first cigarette. कोई बात नहीं आया. अब थोड़ी परेशानी. So second cigarette starting burning. ये क्या हो रहा है? तीसरी cigarette के बाद बंदा आ गया बाहर. कहते आ गए. Tawil Bank got valued at that time at $24 million. They put $12 million in the bank. We got a new lease of life, and we got access to the GSM customers. And that's when we started building Easy Pesa. When we were building Easy Pesa, our first thought was, international remittance was cheap business. What's the amount of international remittance that comes in? Number? 5 billion. $17 billion. $17 billion comes in Pakistan from workers internationally. Remittances. So we said, हमारे पास 50,000 एजेंट्स का, बैंकों के पास पूरी इंडस्ट्री के पास सिर्फ 12,700 है. सैटरडे संडे को भी खुले रहते हैं. Tap into this delivery system where we can utilize the network, then we would get that business coming in. Some of you will charge exchange, we charge a fee, and that's what the first idea was as how we will grow Easy Pesa. That would be the biggest product for us. क्यों नहीं चला?
40,000
That's it. So if you look at the agent must have enough cash in his to pay out. How many 3 guys came would be able to give 1 lakh rupees? So when we started focusing on the number of agents who could do that was equal to the number of banks. So we had no USP, we had no differentiating factor. Okay, local Saturday, nothing that big. Okay. So they said, okay, what's the other pain point? The other pain point is utility bills paid in a month. Total. Telco bills, Pani, Bijli, gas. 30 million. Okay. कहाँ पे होते? Banks. Is that a painful process or is it a nice, comfortable process? So we figured let's figure out a way to get this utility because paying a bank is painful, and the utility company pays you for every, right? So our aim was to get people to pay at the branches banking agents, right? Easy job. Yes, no? So big behavior change. जहाँ आप अंडे रोटी देते हैं आप उसको कह रहे हैं बिजली का बिल दो, कल जाएगी बिजली कैसे जाएगा बंदा? So what we have to give them comfort. So we give comfort with them right away. One, we give them a dummy bank statement. That if you don't get paid, you can go to the state bank, say I put my money in dummy bank. The average utility bill in Pakistan. 1200 में चलता क्या है? Utility bill, okay? Whereas आपका 30,000 है, 2 लाख है, लोगों का 1200. So we said no dispute policy. If a customer calls up, my bill has been, I put my money in, the agent is paid, just pay that. We'll worry about the 1,200 rupees later on. Not into a dispute. Create that trust so people say, at the place we buy a grocery, it's like paying into a bank. And that's how we started. And at the end, we were doing 3 million transactions a month. Okay. The market, just easy pressure. So that started. And then the domestic remittances in Pakistan. Inland. Fathers sending money to sons, brothers to sisters, not the corporate individuals all over Pakistan. $100 double rupees. $12 more. $12 is the amount of domestic remittance that takes place. Dollars. Okay. Within Pakistan. This is intra-Pakistan transfers. Each day. Those are. Okay. So if we could figure a way out, and how does the remittance take place right now? Bank. Or? Post office. Hawala. So, all efficient. Hawala is not, but there's no transparency, anything else, but post office is efficient. So if we could use that agent work to make a rate online payment on both sides, then we could create a business model. So the first challenge was to convince the agent to do this. What is the markup on this at the shop? 50-60-70% मार्कअप पे काम कर रहे हैं ना. अब उसको आप कह रहे हैं टाइम लेके आप सबके पास फीचर फोन है, कार्ड डालें बेनिफिशियरी का, फिर ऐसी कार्ड डालें रेमिटेंस का 32 उसके बाद अमाउंट डालें 150 digits so then I have a smartphone this time. It's a lot of time while you're not selling anything. So what do you do then? How do you convince the agent?
Put in his commission.
Old fashioned. Okay. So अगर एक रुपये पैसे उससे लिया, so you feel able to get it going now. That's the legacy they're inheriting right now. They buy morning. लेकिन उसको अगर मैं ये नहीं करता तो agent network, because people are very reluctant to join us. Although we get telco as a GSM provider, but still agents were reluctant to come and join. Very high commission. 70% of what we are the agent. Okay, we get the customer paid, we paid the agent. So what we if you want to remit money, you didn't need a bank account, you went to an agent and you give your CNIC as the beneficiary. The guy had a cell number, you gave that cell number, you gave your own cell number. The agent will put all that in the phone, because you gave him the software. And he asked you to put in your password. So what happened when he asked you to put in the password? What does the customer say? Right? And what do you think the 60% time the password was? But because this is CNIC check on the other side, fraud that took place was very little. That's how we get the biggest product that is not by but by default, because our region was national remittances and we ended up in domestic remittances. That makes what are the earning points of this domestic remittance business? You're getting commission, right? Each time the customer is making a payment, you're getting a transaction fee. 30% goes to the agent, 30% in Telenor and family. What's the second earning? Yeah, but one time Tamil Bank, the bottom line, what was the earning? The second,
customer days.
yeah, but we didn't know that at the time. But this huge data, which is perfect for nano lending and for merchant lending, I didn't know that. I did that in the last year, Laktami. By that time, we didn't see that opportunity. This is 11 years ago. We take the risk on the agent. Agent जब cash लेता है, कल को वो दुकान बंद करके भाग जाएगा.
The fund that you have to the bank or agency.
So every agent had to pre-fund us. If he was going to take cash at the counter, he required equal amount of cash account with us. And what do you think that gave us? Security, what else?
Extra cash.
Sorry?
Years of extra cash.
Interest free of the total deposit that Tamim Bank had, percent came from agents. Because as this business went up, we refused to give interest. We said this is a transactional account, whatever that means. You don't pay any interest on this. Because reduced. Tamim Bank as a microfinance bank has a cost of funds of 7.5%, which is better than half the commercial banks right now because of the M wallets. The amount of money that the customers also in the wallet was very. Now, this is happening, and State Bank, was looking at this, and it was efficient that ransom money was paid through Easy Pasa. Because it's very efficient. And because there was a manual requirement of the state IC, sometimes the agent did this. And once a month or once a quarter, we would get a call from one of the agencies to call us and say, क्या कर रहे थे, बेनामी का अकाउंट है. मैंने कहा यार 10,000 क्या कर देंगे आधा घंटे. There you work. No, आप उसको कुछ करें. So what we have to do, go to the central bank and get KYC. You said masses. You can't expect them to fill in a 20 form. They're going to set a transaction limit which is low and reduce it. So this is the first time State Bank came up with a tiered KYC. So we had a 0 account, a level 1 account, a level 0 account, basically required few amount of information. But it was all still the counter. And we wanted to get out of this 70% it will be at all times because it's not. So what we did was we wanted to move to mobile wallets. Right? So we went to the central bank and created what is now known as 1 minute account. Very few countries in Pakistan you can create a level 0 bank account remotely in under a minute. Why? Two things. NADRA, which is a centralized, you can do a real-time verification in anybody's CNIC, real-time online, and the fact that the Ministry of Interior has got a few biometrically verified. So those two elements allowed us to convince that if someone sends an SMS to a bank which has access to which has access to NADRA, you can open an account. So right now, I think there are 32 million wallets in Pakistan. Bulk of them will open by the 1 minute account. That was one of the process of digitization. I'm going to get close to 1 o'clock. I want to take some questions. I'm going to leave at 1:30, so we have half an hour. And I'll leave at lunch. So we progressed very fast. Easy Pesa became the darling, then M-Pesa, out with the school did a case on it. We started getting known in the world because we were getting a lot of transactions. But I think, including OTC, we were doing 15, 20 million transactions. They were getting traction. Easy Pesa became the household name. People used to go to jail and say Easy Pesa. Which I used to learn in this state. Became a generic way of doing business. Islamic banks brand went up exponentially because of Easy Pesa. They had the brand, they're not marketing much is equal to a capital. But because we venture with them, Tabi Bank much more powerful. We started getting deposits, we got the aging deposits, cost of funding went down. About 3 years ago, I decided I had other things to do in life. And I talked a bit about Planet M, we have time. And I wanted to exit. I said, Minority shareholders own 49%, 10 own 51%, they are 25%. But on a pre-agreed price, last round 25% with no pre-agreed price. So the reality was they had to renegotiate the whole thing. So the story happened to us. So we said, okay, I said, he gave me a number. I said, are you joking? Number. They said, are you joking? So this dance started as to what that would be. Now they were on a board that numbers. उसके बावजूद, team-member team came in. लोगों को पैसे बनाने का फायदा. The lawyers came in. M&A people came in. I said, you're on a board. We have all the numbers. But you established and continue. Anyway, it was standstill. We couldn't agree on a price. So I called the chairman up, who's now retired, Paksas, and I said, I'm coming to Norway. And, he had 7 days left, before his retirement. And I knew if I didn't catch that decision, if he left, this thing would go again into a new cycle. So I went to Norway. I have 2 wallets I keep, a foreign wallet and a local wallet, different credit cards, different currency. Actually, got to the hotel, took out my wallet as the DC wallet. I got, those guys that on their taxis, so I paid with a local credit card. Went to the hotel, wrong hotel. No booking. Still near the campus. I've been there because I got my local wallet. And the meeting is 2 hours from now. So I got up, it's the campus, what to do they have. So I walked over there, went to before the chairman, and I met the head of their international. And I said, can you give me, like 100? And then she lent me some money. So my story was that walked in with no money and I came out with $1 million. It was a good story. So essentially, we got valued at $100 million. I exited 100. The minority shareholders exited 100%, and I created Planet, which is now into 4 verticals: fintech, e-health, e-education, and e-entertainment. And I invested all the money that I had. Again, if you play poker, you know what that means. All the money that I made in Tamil Bank is in Planet. I put in about $7-8 million. What is Tamil Bank value? Sorry, in Planet, what's it valued right now? I raised about 1.5 million last month. 36 million. So they to create the first $1 billion company in month. Ambition. Think big. So, that's what it is. It's exciting. But 12 companies, every CEO has average age of CEO is under 35. People, startups, half of them. The investor came to see me. Association. 12 लोग बैठे हुए थे. उस उन्होंने पूछा, how did you meet Nadeem? उसने nepotism होगा, source लगाया हुआ, jack होगा. How of the 12 people, 8 people gave one source. Link. Okay. And I okay. And then many linking the Alright. So this is the new stuff. This is, if you look at this whole thing, so do Tamil Bank story, okay? Move on. I don't fall in love with data. I fall in love with people. I get on people. उसके नाम को तकलीफ नहीं basically. मैंने कहा मुझे लोगों को छोड़ने की तकलीफ हुई. Bricks and mortar. Basically, I'm going to build something bigger and more passion. Then I started coming at that time. मैंने सोचा था कि okay, मैं 2-3 घंटे काम करूँगा, थोड़ा relax. 12 minutes, relax का time. But hey, I enjoyed. When I left city, enjoyed my calling. When I left Canada, this is my calling. Anyway, carry on. You've got to have this passion. सबसे ज़्यादा passion चाहिए. And you got to believe in yourself. Got to be arrogant. Believe in yourself. So right now, I spend mostly on Canada with these 12 guys opening doors. We're opening 3 companies right now. Digital bank, microfinance bank, and this company. As I said, 50 data scientists data. We already have half a million customers with 18 data points. हमारे पास जो company, just give an example, 18 data points क्या है? अगर हमारा टीवी देखते हैं, it's called TapPad. It's a mobile TV with 120 free channels and a premium content on it. If you do that, I can see where you put your phone is, what time you watch, so I understand all your preferences. If you make an application at Taze, I have access to your smartphone. You give me the pass. Understand, what you have in your smartphone. We pick up 12,000 data points from your smartphone. If you go to a comparison site, compare, it means if you're applying for a loan or a card, you can go to a site, you fill in a form, I know how much you make, I know what your assets are, so boom, you need. If you go to policy, dawai.pp, but no, dawai kitni value istemal karte. We get the prescriptions, we have 20,000 prescriptions right now. So, data points, in the earlier presentation we have 500,000 customers with 80 data building personas. So, customer comes in, within 6 then itself, I know when to cross sell. And the proof of the pudding is that when Taze started, Taze did social marketing on Google, on Facebook, that's the best marketing, and they took qualified from our database. 5 times the acceptance level because I don't know if you have a smartphone or a feature phone. Feature phone doesn't work for me for my thing. I don't know if you live in defense or Rangi. You're living in defense, you don't want a loan at 40%, for a month or 5,000. But our database, so I know if you're wanting to tap bad, you have a few mobile phone, you're living in Rangi, you're potentially a Taze customer. If you have an iPhone for around 20,000 rupees, you don't want 10,000. Maybe you do, but typically not. Alright, so data, I think that talent ends commonality is data. So it is very opportunity for the following a lot of people. In Pakistan, we actually we preach that. Anyway, क्या करना है? बंद करें? What do you want? Because my time is band. Stop right now.
So what I'd love to do is just open up the floor for questions for both of you at the same time. Any questions?
You've taken a few big calls in your life.
Yeah.
What is it that pushes you to do that whenever you've done it so far? Is it a feeling?
Yeah, it's more of a gut feeling. And it's this overconfidence that I'm going to get it right. I'm sorry. Most times I'm getting it right. And I think I've got this ability of attracting. Jack Ma says anything resonates with me. He says, people who are smarter than you around you. That's not necessarily that difficult to find if you're as smart as I am. The difficult part is making them work together. That's where your management skills come in. Smart people don't like to work together because they think they're too smart. So, my view is I think I can create it. And the other thing is, I can see opportunities before people, I think, and then therefore I can execute. पैसा बनाने के बाद, when did the next word came in? It's that same 2.5 years. Why did it take somebody 2.5 after we had launched Easy Paisa and success? And the footprint was available in the size. Why did it take 2.5 years? Big bank, big telco, what's in the middle? A bigger ego. Kiska brand, kiska naam pehle aaya. So 2.5 years they fought over that. That took me 5 minutes. I said, you keep the brand, I'll keep the money. So the next deployment actually was Omni, which was not even a connection, okay? It was a bank. So my view is, it's just passion, it's, excitement to create entrepreneurs, work with young people, and age is so here. And that's what people are doing.
As we are moving toward digitalization, and we both spoke about it. So, one advice for young entrepreneurs or young people how to filter between good and bad data. Like you have an instinct, but those who doesn't have an instinct, how to utilize. Most of us don't know how to utilize the utilization in the right.
Don't let Lawrence answer that.
Sure. Anyone.
I don't know.
Depends what you want to do. So what you're capturing the data for, and then what you want to achieve with that data. So you're never going to know before you start what's good and what's bad, which is the problem now because there's so much data. So the problem is now there's so much data that you only learn from experience. You learn as you go through from the experience, and data is evolving. So something that we could say happened 3, 4, 5 years ago isn't the same as data that's available now, and the same mistakes might not follow. So it's about what to achieve. It's about setting up in the right focus for what you're trying to achieve, and then you just learn along the way. So
I mean, example, taste. The loan we're giving out to taste right now and we reduce the size of the loan, we're not using it because the algorithm doesn't know what to, how to differentiate. So you don't know good or bad data. And there's a price for that. I don't that we're experiencing yet. But the price of creating the learning algorithm. You need bad data to create good customers, create persona, traits of both. So I have something that's off the shelf, ready made on day one. If you learn 2 learning algorithms, it's just a process, and then you get good at it.
we utilize 4 years of data. So we only see it stable if you have 4 years of historical data. And with 4 years, you need to have at least 1,000 specific groups, 1,000 specific groups. Only then will that wealth of data be used. It's a long journey.
Catching on right now, we have 14 customers in Pakistan. We make $1 million this year from fees. Banks, telcos, insurance companies. So we're creating algorithm for banks with 89% accuracy. You can tell you at the time you book for the DHE is going to be perfect. Like Lawrence said, we take 3 years we take to create the algorithm. We didn't. Then we take the first year data and we for defaulted customer checks that is actually that's the 89% accuracy we get. Then we get the comfort that he gets the comfort that okay, these guys the accuracy I'm going to build macro. So I see actually consumer bank is going up because banks are taking this. So it's going to be interesting.
Your companies with the plan and which you digital and do you see a trend of from digitization to digitalization and transformation, like all of the companies other than yours are using APIs to data and verify amongst them?
It's happening, it's starting slow. Commercial banks are very slow. So they're not exposing their APIs. But in Europe there's a law right now where the individual customer force a bank to reveal my data to a third party. And that's eventually going to happen over here. Banks, I keep talking to them. We have a digital bank in their that you go to a branch and there are no tenants.
Yeah.
So I get out of my house, I drive for half an hour, I find parking, and go to a bank, and I said, wow, digital bank. You do it on my phone, So the learning is starting to take place. They're not yet. They're not using algorithms. They're not using the data that they have. They're not using APIs. They don't know their customer. The bank's customer segmentation. I want to tell you that. Employees, salary, Karachi, Lahore. And they're sitting in leads and leads of data, the call center, at the branches, where they can create personas. But they haven't done it yet. So it's a new opportunity for people to do that.
My question is related to education sector. That we have many entrepreneurs in Pakistan and a lot of startups maturing as well. So, is there any competition having a formalized education towards data sciences because now all of us are moving towards it? Because if I search on Google for any courses, within time we hardly see any. Most of the courses are on the Western side. and how many of us can afford. So, is there any contribution?
Clearly, I'm on the board of 6 universities now, and one of the reasons I got is because of data science, helping create the curriculum and the direction we want. We're opening 4 companies. We're going to require 50 data scientists by the end of last year. So where am I going to get those data scientists? People who know BI. To be able to create algorithms. So one of the investments of my time in university now, and more postgraduates available locally, because we believe that we have a leverage. If we're creating, for example, a data science in the UK. Why? Because large people who provide data science solutions, they're very expensive. A good data scientist makes $100,000. So we can get a relatively good data scientist at a fraction of the cost. So if we create this resource, leverage this cost disparity in company global. So we opened in Egypt, we opened in UAE, backyard, starting in the UK. And we have global customers. Because Chevron is customer, we have the customer, we have Dunkin' Donuts the customer, now Etisalat we just signed up as a customer. People are getting to see what this is. I'm sorry, if you haven't done this, you're going to learn something. What's the biggest technology that's going to change the financial market? Blockchain, data science. I honestly believe.
I have another question. So it's related to data security and the structure which Pakistan provides for this huge database which all of us talk. So it's not only for Pakistan but for you as well. A lot of other names for data storage and data security is looking at the global and the political situation internationally as well. What are the questions you have, or what do you have in mind? What may just in future be the impact of data security? How we do it in future?
In Europe, it's a big topic at the minute. GDPR, 25th of May. GDPR is a huge restriction to the way that banks can store data on an individual. And what it's doing is it's empowering the individual. So actually, that data is your data.